The Hyperion Cantos is an epic science fiction series written by Dan Simmons, comprising Hyperion, the fall of Hyperion, Endymion, and the rise of Endymion. It starts with a group of people on a pilgrimage to the time tombs of the mysterious planet Hyperion. Along the way, they are faced with powerful foes and must battle with the horrific Shrike, a seemingly unstoppable creature from the future. At its heart, the Hyperion Cantos is a story of individuals struggling against an unknown and powerful force. It's a tale of faith and courage in the face of great danger and uncertainty. Along the way, readers are introduced to rich and varied cultures and philosophies, as well as powerful technologies, as the characters strive to uncover the secrets of the universe. In the process, they learn the secrets of an entity known as the Technicore, a group of artificial intelligences responsible for controlling much of the universe. The Hyperion Cantos is a sweeping saga full of grand ambition and epic imagery. It's a classic of science fiction literature and a must-read for anyone interested in the genre. With its complex characters and multifaceted universe, it stands as a testament to Simmons' skill as a storyteller and an inspiration for fans and aspiring authors alike, including myself. But what lies beyond the four main books? Dan Simmons' novella Orphans of the Helix is set centuries after the events in the main four books, providing a glimpse into the events that occurred following the rise of Endymion. As we explore this, please bear in mind there will be major spoilers ahead, so if you haven't read the series yet, you might want to do so. Trust me, you won't regret it. Orphans of the Helix is set 500 years after the Aenean shared moment, an event where Aenea, the daughter of Braun Lamia and the second John Keats hybrid, Johnny, shares her DNA-modifying virus known as the DNA Sacrament with her many followers before allocating them to different worlds so that her DNA virus may be further spread among humanity. One aspect of sharing in the DNA Sacrament means that anyone who does has access to the void which binds, an invisible domain which permeates the known universe, unifying all of existence. The void which binds can be used for communication, habitation, and instant travel across boundless distances in what's called freecasting. At the end of the fourth book, The Rise of Endymion, Aenea is murdered by the Pax. At the time of her death, however, she makes a powerful communication to all humankind. Her message is broadcast to all humans by her followers using the void which binds. This event marks the end of the Pax era and the beginning of the Aenean era, initiating the fall of the Pax by revealing to all humans the truth behind the Pax and its relationship with the AI Technicore. If you want to understand the full Hyperion Cantos timeline before the events in Orphans of the Helix, check out my video on this here if you haven't already. This shared moment, as it becomes known, reveals that the cruciform, which allowed for mysterious resurrection after death, was a parasitic mass of AI nodes generating a micro-technicore in real space. The AIs were able to take control of the neurological systems of human hosts through the cruciform, even to the point of death, believing that the last moments of life led to the most creative output of brain activity. The Church then utilised core technology to bring the bodies back to life, with the cruciform becoming increasingly intertwined and powerful with each resurrection. The revelation that the Pax and the Technicore had effectively enslaved humanity brought immediate revolt, and the entire planets and cultures turned against the Church and the Pax. Rebellions ravaged many worlds. Eventually, the Catholic Church is taken over by reformers and the Pax is forced into exile and is eventually disassembled after a century following the shared moment. The shared moment also contributes to the annihilation of the AI Technicore, as multitudes of humans in all worlds turned from the cruciform and accepted Aenea's DNA Sacrament. Despite its assumed unshakable grip, the Shrike had the power to remove the cruciform from its host and break the connection between it and the Technicore. Without the cruciform, the host was left free from any trace of it, and this caused the eventual fragmentation of the Technicore, ultimately resulting in the emergence of independent AIs. Those who received Aenea's DNA Sacrament formed a new social, religious, and political group known as the Aeneans. The shared moment connected all those with old human heritage, but even more astounding is the fact that it crossed over to alien races outside of humanity's knowledge, reach, or communication abilities. The shared moment was the first ever sentient human voice added to the empathic conversation known as the empathic intelligence, but we'll touch more on this later in the video. The shared moment also went as far as to reach human cultures that had been separated from most of mankind since the early days of the Hyperion, as is the case with the Auster and Templar inhabitants of an alien orbital ring depicted in Orphans of the Helix. The Aeneans had a great capacity for empathy and sought to bring Aenea's teachings and the DNA sacrament to all places throughout the universe. As such, they offered humans the choice of joining them whenever they came across them. The Aeneans believed in Aenea's vision of the future, that evolution had a plan and a direction. She spoke of a day when the universe would be filled with life, explaining that diversity was one of evolution's best strategies. Consequently, the Aeneans wished to encourage the dispersal of life and diversity to all corners of the universe, even beyond human-occupied space. To serve this purpose, they helped multitudes of small cultures cast off from human space into the unknown, including the Amoet Spectrum Helix people, 500 years after the shared moment, resulting in the events in the novella Orphans of the Helix. The Aeneans built the Helix starship for the 600,000 plus remaining Helix people to transport them from their former home, the desert planet of Vitus Grey Bellianus B, toward an ideal planet yet to be found. Having lost a great amount of its population to conversion to the cruciform, then to wars, and later to conversion to the Aeneans culture, the Amoet Spectrum Helix survivors decided to head toward the galactic centre, away from known human space, far from places touched by the hegemony, the Pax, Austers, or even the Aeneans. They had a plan to find a planet very similar to Earth for their long-term home. The ideal place for them was a planet with a G2 sun, a rating of at least 9 on the old Solmev scale, which gauges how Earth-like a planet or moon is, with deep blue oceans and temperate climates. They were willing to invest thousands of years into their quest, with 5 AIs running the ship while they slept in stasis. While the people slept, 36 ship time years into their voyage and more than 400 years time debt, the ship's AIs find an anomaly and decide to decelerate into real time. The AI wake 9 of the Helix people to inform them they have received a distress signal from a binary system consisting of a G-type star around which an alien star tree has been constructed and a red giant. They conclude that the signal must have been sent by Austers that were part of the original Hyperion and out of touch from the rest of humanity for around 1500 years or more. The Austers' seed ship had malfunctioned and found refuge in the alien-built tree ring. However, the tree ring was slowly being demolished by a huge, monstrous ship known as the Destroyer, which periodically harvested portions of the tree ring, causing great destruction and the loss of millions of lives. Since the shared moment, which reached the inhabitants of the alien-built tree ring even at this distance, the Church of Aenea had grown in the Auster and Templar population to the point where at least a fourth would become Aenean if given the chance to partake in her DNA sacrament. It's revealed there is in fact one Aenean on board, Ces Ombre, daughter of Demloa, who was briefly involved in the events in the Endymion duology. She's woken from stasis and, being Aenean, can help the Austers and Templars by communicating through the void which binds with the sentient aliens in the system that are discovered to be sending the Destroyer. She also shares her DNA sacrament with the Austers and Templar envoys, spreading Aenea's DNA virus even further into the universe. After the people of the Helix have resumed their journey and returned to stasis, the ship's AIs welcome 3 guests that have freecast onto the ship. The temporal monstrosity known as the Shrike, Peter, the son of Aenea and Royal Endymion, and Demloa, Ces Ombre's mother. Peter has greatly developed the powers that arise out of contact with the void which binds, and is able to resolve internal inconsistencies in the now autonomous AI entities by simply embracing them. This is important as it suggests he has a close relationship with the AIs, as well as a reconciliation having occurred between humanity and the AIs following the failed parasitic relationship between the Technicore, the hegemony, and the Pax. From what we can gauge from the story, it becomes apparent that following Aenea's death, Rawl raised Peter and eventually went back to Vitus Grey Balianus B, remaining in touch with the people of the Helix and even helping them with their exodus. Peter orders the Helix ship to change course, setting it on a vector toward a G2 star with a planet ranking 7.6 on the old Solmev scale, but which had evolved very nasty viruses and ferocious animals. It becomes evident that Peter has been manipulating the ship's destination. Peter informs the AI that by the time the humans arrive at the planet, most of the viruses will be gone, but the ferocious animals will still be there. However, the planet doesn't fit with the Helix people's requirements for their new home. Then Peter and Demloa together set hands against the Shrike and freecast away. Based on what we know, my personal interpretation of this is that the Aeneans were of course aware that Cessombre was on board and that through her the DNA sacrament would be passed on to other beings during their voyage, helping their aim of diversifying life in the universe. It suggested it was no coincidence that the Helix ship detects the Auster Templar distress signal. From this we resolved that the appearance of Peter, Demloa and the Shrike means they're working to ensure the DNA sacrament is directed towards this specific world for some reason, given that the conditions of the planet aren't entirely what the Helix people are searching for. It suggests a greater plan has been set in motion for the Helix people when they reach the planet, one that will help realise Aenea's vision of a universe green with life. And then there's the Shrike to consider, which has been an enigmatic force throughout the Cantos. Here we see it standing alongside Peter and Demloa. During the events of Rise of Endymion, we learn that in the distant future, entities known as the Ultimate Intelligence and the Empathic Intelligence are at war. The Ultimate Intelligence is considered the AI god, and the Empathic Intelligence is considered the human god. The distant future Technicore built the Shrike to destroy the Empathic Intelligence, and the distant future humans built the Time Tombs to ensure its existence. It's also implied that the Shrike's battle with Cassad from the first two books merged what we might think of as their souls, which affect the Shrike's programming, meaning that for the events in the Endymion duology, it protects Aenea and uses its powers to ensure her survival. After Aenea's death, it's possible this protection programming is transferred to her son Peter. The fact that both Aenea and Peter are part hybrid, or part AI, could also have something to do with this. Although it's never fully explained, it could be that the merging of Shrike's and Cassad's souls also had a role to play in why it seemingly became an ally to humans after the fall of Hyperion. From this we might assume one of two things. Either the Shrike that travels with Peter and Demloa has an objective that is the same or closely allied to theirs, or more simply, the protection it gave Aenea transferred to Peter after her death. For me, a key question remains unclear, and that's why the Shrike gave its protection to Aenea to begin with. But I think that's a bigger question for another day because, quite honestly, my head hurts. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. Until next time guys, happy reading.